Welcome back. The Gauteng provincial government has just rounded up an update on measures taken to curb COVID-19. Our reporter Maageketla Mohlabe is there, and we cross over to him right now live for more. Maageketla, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So we've just heard the Gauteng Premier David Makhura reading the Riot Act to those who will be defying some of the regulations of the lockdown, saying that the law enforcement agencies will be merciless. Now, what is your reflections and your impressions of how the Gauteng provincial government is enforcing these regulations?
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Simpiwe. Perhaps just to quote a few of the lines from Gauteng Premier David Makhura there, he is actually saying that we will get to a point where the lockdown is 100% effective. He also says that we will get this right bit by bit. What does that tell you, Simpiwe? It's not successful yet. I mean, we've seen people roaming around the streets, neglecting the lockdown protocols, of course, on the day 3 of this curfew. But again, he's also highlighting the fact that they do understand the situation in informal settlements like that of Alexandra. They understand that these are densely populated areas, but what he's also saying is that they have actually prioritized these areas in case they hear of any case of COVID-19 in Alexandra. He says that their tracer team have actually been activated to make sure that once they hear of any suspected case in such informal settlements, they will definitely rush there. They've also said that they have actually put testing sites in those areas to make sure that people who might feel that they've got symptoms of COVID-19, be it flu or coughing or runny nose or difficulty in breathing, they will definitely have to make sure that they contact the health officials to make sure that they are aware whether they test positive or not. But again, Simpiwe, Health MEC in Gauteng, Dr. Bandile Masuku, saying that we all know that Gauteng has got the highest number of people that have tested positive so far, 545 to be exact, and again saying that they are doing their best to actually trace those people that may have left the province to their respective provinces, making sure that they also get the penalty that they deserve, because they are now putting people around them at risk of contracting this virus. But with me now is Lieutenant General Elias Mawela, just to give us some details in terms of dealing with the crowds that we have seen in some of these streets. Lieutenant General, thanks so much for your time. Can you just give us an indication in terms of how many people have been arrested so far and what charges are they facing?
Yeah, thus far since we have started, we've arrested 148 and 25 were issued with warnings. And most of the people arrested are those who continue to disregard the regulations. Some they continue to trade with intoxicating liquor. Some they continue to gather with more than 50 people. Some other people, again, they are disregarding the regulation to remain in their residences. So they are just roaming around the streets and so forth, moving from one area to another aimlessly so. So we have picked up those ones. But we are not taking anything for granted. We are serious when we say that we are going to enforce, we are going to apply the zero tolerance in terms of applying these regulations. So that is why we have identified also 11 major routes. Those are the national routes and some of the provincial routes, whereby we'll have a total shutdown there. Multidisciplinary integrated roadblocks there supported by the SNDF members. And then secondary roads. Moving from one area to another, we will put what we call it the soft lock or the VCPs to check whether people are just not roaming around aimlessly. So only those who are allowed to can move around, like the essential services workers and so forth. So we are serious in terms of dealing with these issues, and we call upon our communities to work with us. and ensure that they observe the regulations.
Roadblocks at 11 national roads, including provincial roads as well. Is this where you're going to really stop people from moving out of Gauteng?
Yes, we are stopping people from moving out of Gauteng and those who are coming into Gauteng. If they have no business to do, whether outside or inside Gauteng, then we are going to stop them and send them back. We will allow the trucks which are transporting, goods across the borders to neighboring countries and so forth. And those who are allowed to can move around. But except that, they must expect that they are going to be returned back or they will be arrested.
And this is the question that I asked Gauteng Premier David Makhura to say, what about areas that are densely populated, like your Alexandra, where people are struggling to stay inside their homes? In fact, pavements have now been turned into yards. We know that there's no yards in some of those areas there, and people are now starting to actually camp on the pavements. And when you talk to them, they are saying that as soon as they get up, they're then forced to actually stay in those pavements. What about those people?
Yeah, we understand the dynamics within the dynamics in Alexander, but we call upon our people in Alexander that this is a matter of life and death. They can't gamble with their own lives and the lives of other people. So we call upon them that, they must maintain the social distance, stay within their yard, even though there's no yards, but in their premises, to ensure that, we don't spread around this disease all over Gauteng. So we understand that. But those who are roaming the streets, doing nothing, surely they will find us and we will send them where they belong, in jail.
Lieutenant General, thanks so much for your time. And of course, just to add on to what the Premier said, he's saying that under the difficult circumstances, many of the people are finding themselves in these informal settlements. They do understand that, but at this stage, can we then just follow the lockdown protocols to make sure that everyone around us is safe and clear of this COVID-19? But again, just to wrap it up there, Simpiwe, Panyaza Lesufi on the other side, we know that he's been active in managing the process of getting the homeless in some of the schools. He is also saying that they have actually managed to get over 50,000 homeless people in Gauteng. And of course, he's also mentioning that they have taken them to Tshwane, where they are again running out of capacity, and as a backup they will use about 122 unused schools to make sure that the homeless people are accommodated during this lockdown period. But again, the question was, what about after the lockdown period? Where are they going to go? And he's also saying that they will try to reconnect them with their respective families.
All right, Maageketla, thank you so much for your time. That was a reporter, Maageketla Mohlabe, speaking to us just after the Gauteng provincial government has wrapped up its briefing.